Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and in this video, I am excited to share with you some amazing information on the beautiful, much loved golden seal. Now, in 1979, my dad published his book on medicinal herbals called From the Shepherd's Purse. And in this book, he included 48 of his favorite medicinal plants, and golden seal made the cut. Of course, because it's got such beautiful, rich history, my dad had a special affinity toward Native American plants, which golden seal is part of. Now, when I updated my dad's book and doubled the content in Be Your Own Shaman, I, of course, included those 48 plants and then up a bunch more up to 101. Now, golden seal is just one of those really special plants that's known for its health benefits, its medicinal properties, and it's been really heavily studied in modern times for a compound called berberine. You can even get pure berberine in supplement form if you know what you're looking for, and if you understand what it does and you start to research the compounds of this plant. Now, there are a ton of health benefits to golden seal, and I'm excited to share them with you. In fact, before I do that, let me just show you this great, beautiful picture of golden seal that lives in my book. And the cool thing about golden seal is it produces this one beautiful frond of leaves as it goes up, and then each plant has one beautiful white flower before it turns into a dark red berry. And the berry looks a little bit like a raspberry, just the way that it looks. And it's just this quiet, beautiful, growing plant that I think if you're not familiar with this, you're going to really be interested in it. So I want to first share with you some of the very well-known health benefits. And just know that the information I share with you is not meant to be medical advice. This is just meant to entertain and educate you. And there's some really cool, important things to know about golden seal before you just grab a bottle off the shelf and start putting it into your diet. Now, we don't carry anything with golden seal for a couple of reasons. Now, I mean, I love golden seal. It'd be awesome to have it. And in the future, who knows, it might be part of Barlow Herbal's line. But golden seal is one of those plants that your body will build an immunity to it. It's not something that you add into your supplement routine every single day. In fact, I like to tell people, if you're going to be using something like echinacea, which also your body can build an immunity to, a good idea is to swap it back and forth with something like golden seal. And this is something I've been telling people for a couple of decades now that I've been doing Barlow Herbal on my own for almost 25 years. So golden seal and echinacea, they can balance each other if you want to do something that keeps your immune system strong and some of these other health benefits. But make sure that golden seal is one of those herbs that you don't put into your diet and keep it there permanently. Okay. And it's also not something you want to use if you're pregnant or breastfeeding. Okay. So here are some of the very, very well-known, well-studied health benefits of golden seal. Okay, it supports the body's natural defense against certain bacteria and fungus due to the berberine's antimicrobial properties. Okay, and it also is very well known for soothing digestive disorders. I know this is one of the reasons my dad loved it, is because what it does for the digestive system. And if you think about a lot of bitter root herbs, this is what they're known for. And they're known as, like, think about a bitter tonic. Maybe your grandma had one. Maybe her great grandma had one. You know, bitters are very well known, especially if you're into herbs and herbal medicine. Bitters are known for helping with digestion. Okay. And golden seal is one of those plants. It is traditionally used to support immune function during seasonal illness. So if you think about going back and forth between echinacea and golden seal, it's always a really good idea. In fact, what I like to suggest for myself and my family is to do echinacea for a couple of months and then golden seal for 1 month, and then echinacea for a couple of months and then golden seal for 1 month. That's just always been a nice little balance. You can also go 2 weeks echinacea, 1 week golden seal, which is also a really nice way to help your body stay balanced and not build an immunity to those beautiful medicinal properties that are in golden seal. It's also got anti-inflammatory activity, and it can help calm irritated issues if there's inflammation. It also, one of the things it's actually really well known for is to help support the mucous membranes. And you think about the mucous membranes that's in your nose, your sinuses, your throat, and down into your lungs, you've got mucous membranes. And honestly, this is something I've heard over and over and over from many different herbalists, is how highly beneficial Goldenseal is for supporting the mucous membranes. Okay, it's also been studied for its potential effects on blood sugar regulation, and that's primarily because of berberine. And it also may support liver function and bile flow in some of your traditional applications. Now, Goldenseal grows in North America. So this is where it is native to. But what it loves is it loves the forest and it loves shady areas. So if you're a person who maybe you grow it, maybe this is something you have experience growing, this is not an herb that you put into your sunny herb garden because it prefers to stay tucked in a mostly shady area. And this is a slow growing plant. In fact, many places, this is an endangered plant out in the wild because it's been so overharvested. In fact, it actually started being overharvested in the 1800s when it was first, the settlers were coming over from Europe and all of the activity and the herbs that happened before modern medicine stepped in. People were using and discovering what the indigenous people have known for hundreds, if not thousands of years. The settlers came, they discovered a lot of these plant medicines, and it was overharvested. So if you decide that you want to grow this is a plant that takes patience. It can add some beauty because it likes to be tucked away. If you have a place where it almost represents a forest or a woodland area where there's lots of shade, moist soil, but it doesn't like soggy soil. So this is something you can take the rhizome, the root part, and you can do a cutting and you can start it from the root or the rhizome. In fact, this is where all of the medicinal properties are of Goldenseal, is in the root. The stalks, the leaves, the berry. The berry is edible, but it's not very flavorful. Even the animals, for the most part, kind of leave this plant alone because it doesn't provide a lot of taste, health benefits. Where all the power lives is in the root, which is really common, like I said, for a bitter, something that helps with digestion. Berberine is contained in that bright yellow, beautiful root, which is again a rhizome. So it shoots out the rhizome into the soil, and this is how it can propagate as well. So it'll shoot out its rhizomes, it'll shoot one up, and you can actually do a cutting of that and plant it around different places. So this is a plant that has been successfully cultivated, and most of the supplements that contain Goldenseal, or even the compound they make from it, which is the berberine, are cultivated plants because it is considered out in the wild, it is considered endangered at this point. Now, I have seen Goldenseal out in the forest in places I've hiked, but I've never personally wildcrafted or harvested any Goldenseal. And it does grow up in the mountains here in Utah. I've seen it on many, many hikes. It is beautiful and it's very distinctive, mostly because in the spring you see that beautiful white flower, the leaves are distinctive, and then of course that beautiful berry it turns into for most of the summer and into the fall. The root, like I said, contains all of the medicinal properties, but it's not something you want to have in your supplement routine on a regular basis. So I found 3 modern studies that I thought would be really interesting to share with you. And and there are actually hundreds at this point, but these I think are extra awesome. So in 2010 and 2011, there was a laboratory study on this plant that found a Goldenseal extract had antibacterial properties, including resistant staph, so staph infection, which, like, to me, this is where modern medicine comes in, and we can do the scientific research. We can look through our microscopes. We can do double blind, all kinds of studies. And to go after something like staph infections, it's not surprising to me, but it's proof that this is a very powerful plant with its compounds. And I think a lot of us as modern humans, we want to see the proof, right? We want the scientific proof because we've just kind of lost that little bit of intuitive decades and generations of wisdom that gets passed down is not as in place as it needs to be, but I do believe that's coming back. And the compounds in this plant may enhance berberine's effectiveness by blocking bacterial resistance mechanisms. So that's that 2010-2011 study. Now in 2021, I found this. In meta-analysis of human clinical trials on berberine, which is Goldenseal's main compound, it showed reductions in LDL, cholesterol, triglycerides, blood pressure, and body fat markers, suggesting benefits for cardiovascular and metabolic health. Okay, and this was just in 2021. Now, in 2015, a randomized clinical trial in people with IBS found, which is irritable bowel syndrome, found that berberine improved digestive symptoms, supporting its traditional use for gut health and microbial balance. Now, the one thing I'm not exactly sure of that you might want to do a little bit of due diligence on is whether the compound berberine, when that's extracted out, if that is actually something you can use in the long term without your body building a resistance or an immunity to it. Something to possibly take a look at. So I found some really good information about two other plants that I am familiar with as well that are actually used for their berberine content for a couple of different reasons, and that is Oregon grape and barberry. Now, interestingly, those two plants were also included in my dad's book, and they're in my new book as well. But I found some really easy to explain information about why these two plants are used a little bit more commonly than Goldenseal, just because of a couple of cool reasons. So Oregon grape is a more sustainable North American alternative to Goldenseal. It contains berberine in the root and in the stem. It's commonly used for skin issues like psoriasis, digestion, and liver support, and is generally considered gentler for longer term use, which is really important to know. And Oregon grape is really fun to identify. There's a ton of it growing here in the mountains of Utah, and it's easy to identify and super fun to grow and to use in your own herbal apothecary. Now, also barberry. So it's rich in berberine and it's very well studied in humans, okay? Often used for blood sugar balance, cholesterol support, and digestion. It's unique that its berries are edible and it's used in traditional cuisine. So the berries of barberry are very, very common to use in food and in cooking, unlike Goldenseal. Now, I found another plant that fits in this category that I wasn't familiar with, okay? And this is called golden thread. I've heard of it, but I wasn't super familiar with it. So here's what I found. Golden thread is a very potent, very bitter, berberine-containing herb that's used in traditional Chinese medicine. It's researched for infections, inflammation, and metabolic conditions. And it's often considered one of the strongest options in this category, which is really, really fun to know about. Now, I would be amiss if I left this piece out, because one of the things I love most about herbs and herbal medicine is its mystical, magical, traditional use that humans have been relying on for thousands of years. So this doesn't take away from the scientific studies. It doesn't take away from the testing that we can do. It doesn't take away from the fact that as modern humans, we have to pay attention to all the toxins in our environment, in our water, our food, in the air that we breathe, in all of the things that we're exposed to with prescription drugs and processed foods and the things that we spray all over everything. This is something that people hundreds and thousands of years ago, they never had to deal with it. So they had herbs in their purest forms, and they used them intuitively. They used them by generations of, natural healers and shamans, and your grandmother and your great uncle and your granddad, and everybody passing on their knowledge and their wisdom. This is what we not only relied on, but we really came to understand that this is how humans, being connected to part of this beautiful Mother Nature, God as our source, our connection to all that is, this is how we're designed. When we come into this human form, in this beautiful physical avatar, this is the medicine that God and Mother Nature put out for us to partake of. And you cannot deny how deeply beautiful this is. As a modern human, we get to rediscover this. And I think this is what's happening with a plant like Goldenseal. I think it's been a little bit misunderstood. It was overharvested. It's being rediscovered, but now there's many people who are growing this to make it sustainable. And they're even just quietly growing it in their yards if they have not only the space, but they have the right environment for it. This is some really fun information that I want to share with you, because this to me is the magical part of herbs, the medicine they provide, and the connection that we get to have, that we are blessed to have. We are so lucky that we get this connection to Mother Nature and all of the gifts that she gives us. So here's some really fun information I want to share with you. Some herbalists and folk practitioners have imagined that Goldenseal is a guardian of thresholds, okay? Because it grows in the dim, in-between places of forests. Not quite dark, not quite light. It's been symbolically associated with limited states. So think about transitions or healing between phases. So when we transition, maybe transition to the next life, maybe we're transitioning and healing from a really gnarly diagnosis. And humans have been dealing with hard health issues because we have this physical body that's prone to all kinds of things since humans have been here on this planet. From one condition to another, illness to health, confusion to clarity, and etc. I love that. Its bright yellow root has also inspired the idea that it carries a kind of buried sunlight energy. I mean, you think about something that almost glows. Like, I've seen fresh Goldenseal root. I've never harvested it myself, but I've seen it. It's beautiful and it does glow. It's like buried sunlight. I mean, what a beautiful way to describe it. So buried sunlight energy. In that lens, working with Goldenseal isn't about boosting energy outward. It's about restoring inner clarity and integrity, like turning on a quiet light deep inside the body or spirit. You know, that actually just gives me chills, because you think about a quiet type of healing. Some plants heal you loud and hard, like lomatium is one of those plants that will literally burst out a full body one-time detox rash to heal you in type of a healing crisis, but a massive one-time detox, where something like Goldenseal gives you that quiet inner healing, gives you clarity, gives you focus, and it's quiet, it's deep, it's deeply nourishing. So I really love that. So restoring inner clarity and integrity, like turning on a quiet light deep inside the body or spirit. Some have even described it as a plant that illuminates what is hidden, especially in the gut or the emotional center. You know, we are emotional beings, and we all know our gut, how much importance we have to place on the health of our gut and the microbiome and everything that is associated. I mean, many people have called the gut our first brain or our second brain. I mean, this is a highly intelligent, miraculous human body that we get to have while we're here experiencing this temporary life as these eternal sparks, right? It's all designed so perfectly. So in many traditions, bitter herbs are seen as truth tellers. Okay, I love this. Bitter herbs are seen as truth tellers. In plants that cut through excess, illusion, or stagnation. Goldenseal, being quite potent and not especially pleasant in taste, has been hypothetically framed as a plant that doesn't comfort. So it doesn't comfort. It's not here to comfort you. It's here to heal you, okay? So rather than comforting you, it corrects and clarifies, almost like a stern teacher rather than a nurturing one. You know, we all remember that teacher from our school days who seemed to be the roughest, you know, the one who wouldn't give, and we learn the most. We learn the most from those stern teachers. And I'm not talking abusive, I'm talking stern. There's a very big difference. And then there's its solitary nature. You think about where it likes to grow and everything else. So it has one berry, it has one flower, and it has a very slow growth. So it's got a very solitary nature. This is a plant that teaches us so much if you simply observe the way that it grows, where it grows, and how slow it grows. This is a plant that takes time, consideration, respect. It's just one of those beautiful gifts from Mother Nature that's just kind of sitting there underneath the forest, you know, in the shade, kind of waiting for it to be discovered and respected. Okay, so some interpret this one berry, one flower, slow growth as a signature of focus and conservation of energy. A plant that puts everything into a few precise expressions rather than spreading itself thin. So symbolically, this is a link to boundaries, discernment, and using your energy wisely. To me, this is the real beauty and importance of learning about plant medicine and everything that it brings to us as human beings. So I would love to know, if anyone watching this, have you grown Goldenseal yourself? Have you made it into a tea, into a tincture? I think this would be something that I would probably tincture. I have a lot of herbs I use for a lot of the health issues and the things that Goldenseal brings. But after researching a little bit deeper into this beautiful plant, this is something I'm going to find a source to get some Goldenseal root, and I'm going to make a tincture of it to use in my own personal herbal apothecary for myself and my family when I feel like it's needed. And this is where what I will do is I will tune in energetically in a kinesiology type of way, in an intuition type of way, and ask the plant, is this good for this particular thing that I'm dealing with? And it might even be something emotional, something I might need for focus, for clarity, for deep healing on a spiritual level. There are so many applications. So let me know, what do you think about Goldenseal? Are you super familiar with it? Have you grown it? Have you harvested it? I would love to know. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.